Okay, here it's mentioned that Dr. Ahmed Bouli says the door is open, it hasn't closed. Yes, this link means that any student or any teacher can join us. The link is available from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. and they can enter at any time. But once it hits 7 p.m., they can no longer join us. It's over. Even if we're continuing and explaining until 7:30, 8 or 9, the system won't close on us. The system won't close, right? So, the question here is what Dr. Sultan is saying. Dr. Mahmoud first asks, if a student logs in and doesn't log out, does the session remain open? You've entered another issue here. Yes, you all. Now, students must leave the session. Some forget to leave it open. This is a problem. If a student logs in at 4 p.m., the report might show it ended at 11 p.m. You'd think, 11 p.m., I finish at 7. The system records the last exit. If logged out at 11 p.m., it shows as the last exit, a real problem. What's the second question? Logged in before 4, no issue. The system should allow entry only at 4. We'll clarify this now. A problem occurs when the session starts and this student logs in at 4 p.m. Check the attendance report. It says the session started at 4 p.m. and ended at 11 p.m. You think 11 p.m.? How? The system records the last exit. If the student logged out at 11 p.m., it shows 11 p.m. as the last exit. The second question is, entry should be exactly at 4. We explained start and end times. Keep it 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Entry must be exactly at 4 p.m. Set it here. The last exit, so the student logged out at 11 p.m. The second question is, we logged in before 4 p.m. without issue. Entry should be exactly at 4 p.m. This is the part we're going to clarify now. Set it from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Specify p.m. or a.m. Entry must be exactly at 4 p.m. Set it here. There's early entry. Link available 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Can students enter before 4 p.m.? Can they join and wait until I log in? Right now we were clarifying the start and end times. I'll say, let's set it for 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. or until 7 p.m. and specify whether it's p.m. or a.m. The part that the doctor is talking about is that entry must be exactly at 4 p.m. Now where do I set this? I can set it from here. Do you see it? Now there's something called early entry. I've set the link to be from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So can I allow students to enter before 4 p.m.? Can they join the session and just sit there waiting for me until I log in? I might allow the student to enter 15 minutes before 4 p.m., meaning they can join at 3:45 p.m. or even half an hour before, so they can enter at 3:30 p.m. or 45 minutes before, meaning they can enter starting from 3 p.m. There's something called early entry. I've set the link to be accessible from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So, can I permit students to enter before 4 p.m.? Can they join the session and just sit there, waiting for me until I log in? Additionally, is there any other information about early entry that I should be aware of or consider? Can I allow the student 15 minutes before 4 o'clock to enter the session, meaning at 4 o'clock for a win, or half an hour before that, meaning at 3:30 the student can enter, or 45 minutes before that, meaning at 3 o'clock and a win, starting at 3 and a win the student can enter? Or even 60 minutes before, meaning starting from 3 p.m., the student can log into the session and wait for me until I log in at 4 p.m. No problem. But if I want to make sure that no student enters, then the link won't show up until exactly at 4 p.m. Any student who wants to enter can't log in before 4 p.m. The link will only appear starting at 4 p.m. and the student can click on it at that time. I choose no early entry. I select no early entry. There you go, no early entry. By choosing no early entry, I'm preventing the students from entering before 4 p.m. They can't log in until exactly at 4 p.m. So the link won't show up until exactly at 4 p.m. A student who wants to enter can't log in before 4 p.m. The link will appear starting at 4 p.m. so the student can click on it at that time. I choose no early entry. I select no early entry. By choosing no early entry, I'm preventing the students from entering before 4 p.m. They can't log in until exactly at 4 p.m. So, I have prevented the students from entering in order to ensure that they do not come in prior to the designated time of 4 p.m. They won't be allowed in until exactly at 4 p.m., which is in the afternoon. Remove everyone before recording. If you have 70 or 80 students, you can't keep removing them. Reports from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. are fine. If the last person leaves at 7 p.m., the class closes automatically. No solution now, but we can discuss it with the company. From civilization, if you have, for example, 70 students in the class or 80 students, you will sit and regret it. This is just because there are times when a student forgets or something. What is the issue with the system after that? Even if you make a report go out from 4 to 11, there is no problem. We understand that this student left late. Okay, there's a question. No solution currently. Now let's get back to the settings. The key points are session name, guest access, and start/end times. We'll explain these settings later. Then we'll move on to the session settings. You can see the session settings here. You'll see the virtual attendee role. The attendee is the student. A guest is not a student. They come from outside. Let's go back to the settings. The most important thing is the session name, guest access, which means knowing guest access, and the start and end times and early entry. We'll leave these two settings for now and we'll explain them later. We'll move on to the session settings. The session settings are here. You'll find something called the role of the virtual attendee. Clarify attendee. It's the student. A guest differs from a student. A guest is not a student in the class. They are coming from outside. Here, virtual attendee is my student. If you want to make them participants, assign students as participant, presenter, or coordinator. A participant will just participate. That's it. The virtual attendee role is for students. Remember, guests differ from students. They come from outside and get guest permissions. In session settings, students are virtual attendees. To make them participants, assign roles like participant, presenter, or coordinator. Participants can't use microphones. Presenters can use microphones and share content. Coordinators, like me today, have all permissions, including removing someone. I was assigning them their role as a guest. In the session settings, the virtual attendee will be my student. If you want to make them participants, you can have all the students assigned roles. A participant will just participate without microphone permissions. I assign them permissions. The presenter can use the microphone and share content with more permissions. The coordinator has all permissions. So let's keep them as participants. Agreed. Later, to make someone a presenter, select the three dots and make this student a presenter in your lecture. No problem. Without allowing them to use the microphone, they don't have the permissions. All right? I assign them specific permissions. The presenter can use the microphone and share content, so they have higher permissions than the participant. Of course, the coordinator, like me in today's training, has all the permissions. I can even move someone from the session, so I have all the permissions for that. If I want to make someone a presenter later, what do? Go to the three dots next to the name, select, and say, make this student a presenter. It's better to keep them as participants. Here, we choose for recording. When you enter the session or lecture, what should you do? Find the option to start recording. Click Start Recording. To record the lecture so students can revisit it later. We allow downloads so students can watch offline. I allow them to download. Now I have anonymous chat messages, but it's better to keep them as regular participants. All right, here we also choose. For the recording, of course, when you enter the session, when you enter the lecture, it's best for you to come here and do what? You'll find the option that says Start Recording. It's best to click on Start Recording so you can record the lecture. The student can revisit this recording later and benefit from it. We permit recording downloads. If a student wants to download this recording, they can. Introducing anonymous chat messages. Anonymous chat messages are not specified since you see your chat messages. What is anonymous? It means unknown source. E.g., if Dr. Mahmoud Dawood wrote, I know it was him, set to anonymous, names are hidden, showing stars. Who sent it? I see a message, but not the sender. That is anonymous. I won't activate this. I want to know who sent each message. The anonymous chat messages, we don't specify them as you write messages. So what does anonymous mean? It's from unknown. For example, if Dr. Mahmoud Dawood wrote, I'd know it's him. But if I set it to anonymous, the name won't appear, just stars. So who sent it? I see a message, but not who. That's anonymous. So I won't activate this option. I want to know who sent messages. It's important to keep attendees as participants and allow recording downloads for students to benefit. There's no problem at all. But if I set it to anonymous, you'll find that the name won't be there. It will just show stars. So who sent it? I saw a message, but I don't know who it is. That's anonymous. So I won't activate this option. I don't want anonymous chat messages. I want to know exactly who sent me the message, who sent me this message. Okay, so the most important thing for me is to set the role of the attendee as a participant and to agree to allow downloads of the recordings if I want to give this permission to the students so they can download the recording and benefit from it. There's absolutely no problem with that.